Hey everybody, I just wanted to make a quick video. I see maybe what you guys think. Um, I bought 8 rolls of pennies. As you can see, I've already opened 4. These are rolls. And the quantities by decades. So these are 1950s, 40s, 30s, 20s, 10s. And these are actually Indian head cents. So um, no O9s or anything here. But I bought these 8 rolls on an auction on eBay, and the description was my parents had a gas station in Minnesota or whatever state it was. Um, they've since passed. We have boxes and boxes of these rolls. The picture showed that they bought them from a company in 1958 or 9. There's the company. NF String and Son Incorporated. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I believe they're all the same. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So the eBay listing showed the boxes. And so I've opened them. I got really excited last night and I started opening them. I found a couple, very, very few really good looking coins out of it. This is pretty mint state, 57D, which would make sense. I mean, if you look at it on a timeline, it would make sense that you would get more of the 50s than the 40s and so on down the line, just because of how many were in circulation at the time in the earlier decades than there would be when they were packaged, and most of the coins were new. So there's probably about 8 coins in there, less than this quality. This is actually pretty gem. I haven't actually been through them with a loop yet because I'm just getting an idea first off. So I'm trying to be really careful with them. And I'll move on from there. But I have 4 more rolls which I wanted to open on camera. And just, I'm curious to see if the amounts per decade continue in this pattern to where, there's a lot more of the 50s than the 40s. And then, I'm pretty sure that they minted quite a few in the 30s, which is this row. Which is why, I mean, these are almost identical throughout the 4 rolls that I've opened. So, there's about nine coins from the 30s in each roll. And I'm just trying to see what everybody thinks, if they feel like this has been a stacked roll or if they feel like this is a normal looking roll. I have been looking at every date as I flip them when I open the roll for key dates. I haven't seen any key dates. I'll do that this first time around. Any 1955s, I'm going to look for a DDO right off the bat. But other than that, I'm just stacking them. So let's get to it. I'm going to try my best to do this for the camera and not for me this first time around. Also, I've been looking, kind of just glazing over how many come up heads and tails, because if they were machine wrapped, you should expect roughly about 50% heads, 50% tails. 1896 Indian head. 1950. I don't know if I'm going to call all the dates out, but you guys can just follow along. These are the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, 10s. And this last column are the Indian heads. And if I see anything that jumps out, I'm going to be pretty excited, I'm sure. 1950. $35. If anything jumps out as I'm going through this, I'll come back to you guys. Okay, I've gotten a few through here, and this is kind of interesting. I'm going to try to show here. This is how they're coming out of the roll. Indian head, heads up, Indian head, heads up, Indian head, heads up. So that might be a little odd looking. We're going to get in maybe to a little bit more of a scientific look at this at the end of the video. I'm going to use ChatGPT and ask it some questions and do some math for me. So I'll get back to you as soon as I'm done with this roll. All right, here's a really nice one. Good quality. Let's see what date it is. What date do you guys think it is? 1940s? 1950s? I think it's probably 50s by the shine. Let's see, 1956 Denver. I've been getting at least one or two per roll that are in decent shape in the 50s. So I'm going to actually stack this one on top of this roll because I want to look at it a little more in depth, but I'm going to just put it off to the side right now. Okay, this is the next coin. I got about, I don't know, 15 left maybe. This is the next coin that's coming out, and let's just talk about it for a second, right? It's 1941. It's very dirty tone brown, whatever you want to call it, and it has some super fresh looking scratches. Back of the coin looks just like a normal back. So this makes me think, right? This is from 41. These were apparently packaged 58. Well, we'll say like 59 because I think it was like October, November on the tag. So let's assume that this was minted in 41, and so from 41 to 58, 59, I don't know, 17 years or something, it's toned like this, right? So let's just assume for the sake of argument that these scratches happened as it was getting packaged in 59. So to make the math easy, go from 1960 to 2024, right? How did these scratches not tone? You have 17 years to get most of the coin toned this way, and you have 64 years roughly that these scratches have been apparently wrapped in that paper. So how do you not get any toning, or how do those not look at least a little bit brown? From 1960 to 2024, 64 years. 64 years in that paper, where it only took roughly 17 to get it. I guess that's wrong, because if this was minted in 41, I guess you'd have to add both of the years. So 64 plus 17, 82 years, I guess. So basically from a very fresh minted coin, 82 years to get it super dark brown, or 64 years and it still looks pristinely fresh. So I guess that's another way of looking at it. Tell me what you guys think. Is it smart to buy coins that apparently have been sitting forever, because anybody can wrap this stuff. I mean, looking at the rolls, this side looks like, the camera probably doesn't pick it up, but I can see that it looks very worn, very old looking, decently dusty if you look with your eyeball inside the inner cracks. This side, you know, if I were to wager a guess on it, I would say the roll was sitting in the box like this, you know, because this side's nice and clean and maybe the bottom of the box was dirty, so this side is dirty. But, you know, that's just guessing. It could have been anyway. Do people really consider that stuff? I mean, these rolls weren't that expensive. I think I've paid in the past for what looks like genuine original bank wrapped rolls. I've paid $40 a roll, right? And these were, I think, like 40 for 2 rolls or something like that. Let's just get through this. We'll finish it up and we'll take a look at this stacking and see if, you know, we're continuing to have the same rough estimate of coins per decade. $34, $52, $56, just dropped that one. That was that nice looking coin out of the roll. 52, 36, 1912. That one's kind of old. It's our first from 1910 or above, 1910 to 1919. Another Indian head. I'm amazed how many Indian heads there are in these rolls. 1920. I haven't seen any 55s out of this roll yet. Usually I've been seeing, you know, 3 or 4 1955s. And that's another thing which is, it's odd to me. I might just be very paranoid about this buyer, but you might not be able to tell. There's a little dish or a bend in this coin, slightly. You might be able to see that on camera. I can see it with my eyeball. Out of all these coins, I'd say about 6 of them have been damaged in a way that, you know, can still fit in a coin roll, but you can see it with the eyeball that they've been somehow bent in the past. It's just an observation. Okay, so here's that really pretty decent 57 or 56 it was. This is how they're coming out, guys. A lot more Indian heads than I would expect. Very few teens, very few 20s. This roll was pretty exceptional with the 20s. The 30s and 40s have been almost identical. I mean, give or take a couple coins each roll, but the stack height is just pretty even all the way across. That's a steel penny. I got that out of the first roll I opened. And then the 50s, I would expect to have quite a few more 50s, I think. And maybe get a lucky gem here or there. So I'm not totally convinced that these are stacked, but I think I have convinced myself that I wouldn't expect to see this many Indian heads. I mean, these are all Indian heads, at least 3 or 4 per roll. I think this has about 6 in it. So let's just keep opening them up. I'll bring you back in as soon as I find something special. Actually, I decided to keep opening them up. At least opening the roll on camera. This is a 26, it looks like. 40s. 1940 something. I can see 2 Indian heads so far. $19.29. I do like seeing the older dates. I don't have a whole lot of those, but I have just a metric ton of these in the 50s decade. I'm going to have to slide those up a little bit and move that back. There we go. 40. I need room for my fingers to operate. 36. And none of these Indian heads have been exceptional. I mean, I guess they are the oldest coin that would be in a roll, but I have found pretty decent Indian heads with the Liberty. Very well intact, full Liberty, nice strike. As a matter of fact, this is off topic here, but let me see. It's not in this little stack of coins. Yeah, it was. That's a full Liberty. $1906. I believe that's a full Liberty. Very nice coin. I found this in one of those actual original bank wrap rolls. Yeah, I just looked with my eyes. It's hard to see through the camera. It is full Liberty. Really nice coin. I mean, I just marked it rainbow toned. XF45. I don't know if it would get a mint state. I would say it'd be very low, like a 60, 62, but $50 to $100. I mean, I think people would pay that for a really nice tone coin. I might get it graded. We'll see. I just got it slipped right now. But back to this. Yeah, I thought that was a 1916. I was going to be kind of happy that I had one in there that was pretty good shape, but it's 46, so make sure to put that one on top of the 40 stack. I think I see a steel in there. 1919. Yeah, that's a steel penny. Right. 1943 steel. Pretty cool. Keep that. I'm keeping all the semi-special ones. I'll just put them on the top of the stack at the end, because those are the first ones I'll actually go through if I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. I might try to argue that this has been stacked and not original. But basically the whole reason for this video is I kind of want some proof how I'm opening them, in case it comes down to that. I don't really know the logistics. Here's a 55. I don't really know the logistics on how eBay would work with that, but if you can see that through the loop, it's not a double die. I'm not checking all the coins. I'm not going crazy. Just looking for a couple that I would recognize right off the top of my head that I've seen enough times to where I could identify it without looking it up. I mean, Indian head cents, I think you can get $1 per. Probably get half of my money back if I kept it. I'm not saying that I deserve the best coins every roll. I definitely understand that you can strike out, but I just want to be comfortable knowing that it was genuinely not wrapped by a customer after 1958. So reverse, reverse, obverse, reverse, obverse, 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 reverse, 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 reverse. I mean, it's roughly 50-50, right? 1930. So there's two 1951 Ds that came out, I think, right next to each other. I've probably mixed them up though. Here's a 55. Are they all bent? I mean, do people bend these? It just feels like there's a lot that are bent. 1883. Whole bunch of 30s in this roll. Okay. So there's that roll. We kind of just did that one basically all live. I'm really hoping that we get like a 1909 SVDB out of this roll. That would be awesome. Come on, baby. Give me some rare date, 10S or something. Let's turn this around because I'm not super excited. Come on, 10S. I have one 10S. I have some 09s. I got a VDB. I don't have an SVDB. What is that? Okay. I don't know if you can see this, guys. Something tiny that looks like a penny. It looks coppery. All right, let's have patience, shall we? We'll just wait to look at that. Get through this roll. I felt like I should do a couple fully live. So that's an 87 and a 1907 Indian head. Oh, another Indian head right next to each other. These two came out. 87 and a 07 came out next to each other. What is that? Is that a steel? Here, I'm gonna. Oh yeah. It looked copper to me. I was getting excited for a second. This video isn't really showcasing every coin in detail, you know. It'd take me hours to show you every date and quality of every coin, but I suppose that's about average so far. This is more about, do we think that this is a customer stacked eBay seller roll lying about stuff, or do we feel like this is genuinely what they described it as, is sitting. It's a weird zero on the 1950, as sitting in their parents' closed down gas station since 1958 or whatever it said. $49. Here's a 55. Let's try to look at this together. This is all I'm doing with these coins. It doesn't look like it through the loop through the camera, but I'm gonna look at it. Nope. Oh, we're getting close to that penny or whatever it is. Hopefully it's gold. Man, that'd be awesome if it was gold. I think right now gold's at like, I don't know. I'd be making it up. 2,800 an ounce. 2,500 an ounce. 1941 and a 1941D next to each other. Oh, here's an. So I found two more like this that are really shiny looking. I mean, that totally could be a cleaned coin. I don't see any scratches like somebody abraded it to clean it. It looks more chemically cleaned, if anything. What the heck is that? I think that's. I mean, it's a parking lot coin for sure, but it looks like an Indian head. You see it? You can just barely make out the headdress. I just spotted that weird coin. Is that like lead paint? Red Opa 1 point. It's like. I suppose it's metal. I thought it was wood at first. It felt really light. I'm gonna have to look that up. I've never seen whatever this is. Maybe you guys already know. Is this $1,000 collectible gem? Or is it just a token from a carnival back in 1950? Oops. Didn't mean to throw it. Who knows? There's another 55. Last two rolls have had quite a few 30s. This is the first 55 that, I mean, it. I don't think it is, but I'm going to look at it more later. Alright, so here's that 55 that I just saw on the one on the 1955. I just saw that it might look like it has some little doubling, but I might not even worry about it. This is a 43 steel. This is a 43 steel. And here's that. So I hope that's not like lead. I might touch my mouth. Who knows? Not that that would really hurt me. I mean, such a small amount. Very brief exposure time. But here we are. Got one more roll left. I mean, this one didn't have as many. I would say about 6 less than, the two rolls that had quite a few. I would expect kind of something more random like this. Like, I'll tell you, these first 4 rolls. I mean, other than this 50s having a few more, what, 20s in it. Yeah, I have a lot going on here with coins, but don't mind the mess. This is the eBay roll. This is different because this was a 1979 Susan B. actual original roll, 100% guaranteed. Pretty super nice 4 coins there that I'm gonna send in to get graded. I would say maybe like there's 2 S's and 2 D's, and I would say they cannot absolutely not get below a 66. I would say they're probably 3 of the 4 67s, so that'll be really nice. One more roll. Let's just do it on camera because hopefully you guys enjoy looking into something that's potentially pretty old. The quality of the paper, I mean, it looks right. It looks like it's old enough. This roll doesn't really have it as much, but the outside of the rolls, like you could tell if it looks aged. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe a little more frayed up, you know, over time. You could see the fraying. This paper looks old enough. I could look up this company, see if they went out of business at any point, if they're still in business. Maybe find some pictures online of the types of rolls that they used in 58. You know, who knows? I think a lot of times these rolls are faked because you can buy them on eBay. And if you happen to have an old stamp, you know, it could happen. People are crooks. I think I was happy enough with this roll. I think I found that really nicely toned Indian head that I showed a bit earlier in one of those 2 rolls. So it was fine. Kind of a nice find. Probably an XF grade. Can you see that? Here, let me. There we go. I don't want to grab them from that side. I want to grab them from the top. This one looks like a 43. It's probably a 45. Yep, definitely a 45. It's weird that the 5 is worn off so much. I can't tell if there's any grinding marks or any kind of modification to the coin to make it try to look like a 43 copper, but it's definitely a 5. It's so weird. All these Indian heads have damage. I could feel that. Feels like a BB bump, like this had been shot. 1902. Okay, 53S. Is that a rare? I'm going to look some of these up. I'll keep that off to the side. So many 1919s. Well, not really. I mean, three per roll roughly, but kind of cool. Haven't found any 1909s. That'd be awesome. If I found a 09, they're not really worth a whole lot. Just the regular 09s. But if I found a VDB worth a little bit more, I would imagine, you know, just thinking about this with some logic, I don't know if it's correct, but for how many Indian heads are in here and 0 1909s, these are all starting from 1910. So I've had 0 1909s in 8 rolls now. So one more thing to consider. You would think with how many, look at that, another Indian head. With how many Indian heads I'm pulling, you would have an 09. At least I would think so. 400 pennies, 400 chances to get an 09. Nothing spectacular yet. I still got 40 more chances, but it would be nice to see an 09. I always restrict myself because I think ahead so much. And for somebody to put a video out like this, breaking down with, some sort of logical thinking, might be ammo against me as a collector or people like you that buy this kind of stuff online hoping to find something cool. Somebody that stacks coins watches this video, they get a little bit of insight on at least how I think and how I'm considering a roll of coins to be that would be original. So they can adjust their stacking accordingly, right? 1920s. I think that might be a key date. Two 30s next to each other. I don't know why all of a sudden my fingers decide to grab two at a time. Look at that eating up Indian head. I don't think I would expect to have that many Indian heads consistently through the rolls. This is a 55. I was just checking. Double die. If it wasn't one, I'd be a little more excited about that. So many 1919s. Like, I feel like they did a really good job. If we're assuming now that they've stacked these, they did a really good job breaking them up evenly. If they had a mass quantity of wheat pennies, they're pretty well organized per roll. I know I'm leaning a lot toward being stacked, but don't let me talk you into any decision. I kind of want to hear your comments and your ideas about it. I haven't seen any coins that look like they've been cleaned or modified in any way. That one coin that was really ground on something that had the super fresh marks that we talked about. That one threw me off a little bit. This is a 43 steel. The 4 is worn off. 6 sticks to a magnet. It's definitely steel. I think it's an S mint. Looks like an S. So 2 more. 39 and 35. So no key dates and 8 rolls. It's 20, I think. I want to look that one up because I think that's it. semi-key date. And this one, 53S, I thought was maybe something. So in 8 rolls, you can see one, two, three, four, five, six. So that's a height of 6, right? So easily, these last two are a little bit less, but easily 4 to 6 Indian heads per roll. Most of these, sorry, I'm not a good cameraman. Most of these teens are 2 to 3. I mean, this one has like 6. This last roll had like 6 from the teens. 20s, mostly 4 or 5. This one had a lot of 20s and less 50s. 30s and 40s, I would just call even. In the 50s, the majority of the roll, which you would expect. So let's go over to PCGS website. We'll take a look at some things. We'll maybe talk to ChatGPT. So let's do that. Okay, here we are at PCGS website. Just wanted to look up a couple of the coins off of memory that you guys might have seen. We had like a 1957D that was in mint state. Pretty much the best one. There was also a 1955, I think. So 57D, if I were to get it graded, this is mint state 60 column. If it was a MS60, it would be $3, 63, $7. I really don't think it's up here in the 67. It had a couple little scratches, but I didn't really look at it, so we're just giving a rough estimate. I'd say $3 to $7. And then I just looked, it was a 1958. Same, $3 to $7. There was that 1920S, which I think is probably on page 2. $1920S. Let me look. Probably maybe fine grade. Like maybe a 40. I mean, it could be a $20 coin. It could be a $5 coin. So nothing too special. Nothing too spectacular. Sometimes you have to go to the cents. Dollars. Did I pass it up? Indian cent, 1859 to 1909. So anything from 1860 to 64 will do pretty good on. I didn't see any from the 60s. I saw some basically like 1889 and above. And they were all very, very low grade. This one, 1888 over 7, might be worth looking for. $2,000 for the worst grade coin that they've ever graded. Estimated 500 to 600 known. But most of these, I mean, they're going to be very low grade, right? So we can just pay attention to these first 2 columns. Nothing that stands out over a few bucks. This 1898 might be worth it to look into. 1908S. I don't remember seeing an 08S, but I never looked at the mint dates. So, I mean, I guess there's potential there. I could have a decent coin out of that. I guess more on that later. I had a conversation with ChatGPT. This is like just my general coin questions, but I started this new conversation here. I asked it, if in an original bank wrapped roll, how many of each penny would be probable in each roll, and it kind of just said some basic stuff, so I narrowed it down. And then I was telling it I meant if they were boxed and sold to a customer, and it kind of broke it down. It told me, how much copper and zinc was in each coin. It wasn't really getting there. I kept trying to narrow it down to what I was trying to ask. And this is just like right off the top of my head. I didn't even think about it. I said, can you give me a best guess on the number of each decade starting from 1890 to 58? And then, so it kind of did that. Um, but it said since Lincoln Wheat pennies were not minted until '09, there would be no pennies from the 1900s in a roll. So I had Indian heads in my rolls, so I narrowed it down. I said there would be Indian head pennies in circulation still. It said you're correct. So then it kind of still wasn't there. It said no, 1900s, no Lincoln Wheat pennies, but potentially some Indian head pennies from the later part of the decade. And it still it didn't list any 19 below 1910, right? So I tried to narrow it down more. I said try to give me a more accurate assumption. If I add together all of your minimum values, it's more than 50 coins. There are only 50 coins in a penny roll. So, I mean, if you add all these minimum values up, it's more than 50. So it said, you're absolutely correct. I appreciate your attention to detail. Let's adjust the estimates. So from 1910s, it said there's probably 3 to 5, and you can read this. I'm just going with minimum values just for the sake of consistency on this assumption, right? I said, nice, but includes some chance of having pennies earlier than 1909 based on the mintage and probability of them being in circulation. It said, certainly. So now it's including, a small chance of some Indian heads because of the mintage and what could be likely in circulation if the rolls, and remember, this is all if the rolls were wrapped in 1958. So based on what could be in circulation before that. I said, using this figure, narrow this down, giving me exact counts of each decade over 10 rolls. So now it's more along the lines of what I have going on with 8 rolls. So here's its estimates. And this is just for consideration on, if I think that these rolls were handcrafted rolls or if they were actually machine wrapped in 1958 and sat on a shelf for years and years. So it's basically saying there's going to be a lot of 1940s and 30s and then just a few of the other ones through each roll. It seems pretty consistent that it thinks that there's going to be lots of 30s and 40s. And we kind of see that. Um, I'll put a clip back to the stack, seeing all the rolls together lined up, but the 30s and 40s were definitely had a good majority. I mean, most of the rolls had a lot more 50s, but for whatever reason, it's thinking that there's not a lot of 50s. So I said, this isn't coherent based on the last revised estimate. In the last revised estimate, it was saying that there's going to be approximately more 50s and 40s than 40s and 30s. So it kind of recalculated it. It said, apologies, let's revise the distribution of pennies across 10 rolls according to the revised estimates. So it's still really not showing that there's going to be so many 50s, right? So I said, of these coins, how many would be in uncirculated condition and considering the mintage and decade of the coins? So determining the number of uncirculated coins in each roll based solely on mintage figures and decade is challenging, as the condition of coins can vary widely, even within the same year and mint. However, we can make some general assumptions, right? So here's a rough estimate. So it says basically in each roll, there's a good chance of a low number uncirculated, which makes sense. And we see that in, I would say half of the rolls we see that there's 3 or 4 in the 50s that are, could be considered BU or uncirculated. And then the majority of them would be circulated, which that makes sense. And that's what we see in the rolls. So it's just a little bit more of a deep dive into somebody that would be buying coins and in hopes that they're buying original bank wrapped coins from an early date, vintage stuff, and having the opportunity to search through them and maybe make a profit on eBay, or maybe sending them into a professional grading company to make a profit on. And I definitely understand that there's probably a bigger chance that you won't find anything gem inside of an old roll. But I think there might be the same chance that the sellers that are listing these as original rolls are stacking the rolls, because I've seen some weird things inside of rolls in the past, and I wanted to make a video about it. Like that one penny that looked like it had freshly been drug across the pavement, but yet it was supposed to be sitting since 1958. So I would love to hear your guys' reactions, your comments. If you like videos like these where I kind of break things down through my experience and, talk about it and try to figure out a good approach to buying coins online.